This one's about to be special. Got the candles going, I'm ready to get in my feelings now. Hey guys, CDTVthaG here, and the G of course stands for going to feel like I've just had my heart broken, even though I haven't, because this doesn't look like it's gonna be a very happy album. Just look at some of these track titles. Alone Again is the intro song, Hardest to Love, Until I Bleed Out, like, this is about to hit. So yeah, today I'm gonna be reacting to the new album by The Weeknd, After Hours, and this is probably my most anticipated album of the year so far, which is crazy because I only became a Weeknd fan 1 month ago. That's right, just keep that in mind when you're watching this. I am a new Weeknd fan. I've always loved certain songs from The Weeknd, but I never decided to fully check out his music until my girlfriend asked me to because she wanted me to listen to his music. That's right boys, we out here simping. But yeah, I ended up checking out his Thursday project after she asked me to, and after that went through every single other project he had within a week, and just instantly fell in love with all of them. And that's something that I'm very happy about because, as you guys know if you frequently watch my channel, or you could tell just by looking at my uploads, 99.9% of what I listen to every single day and what I have listened to my whole life is rap music. Like, that's really the only genre that I'm fully into. But he's definitely my favorite non-rap artist right now. Like, I genuinely fell in love with this man's music just over a month. So what I've heard from this album is Heartless and After Hours, the title track. I haven't heard Blinding Lights yet. I know that's a huge song. I've heard parts of the song, I've never heard the full song. So yeah, judging from these track titles and parts of the singles, someone very clearly hurt this man, and we're about to see what music that produces. I'm also a little bit nervous because this is a bit outside of my comfort zone, reacting to something that's not rap music. I hope that I have enough to say about this and I'll be able to justify why I don't or why I do like certain songs. It's a lot easier to do with rap because I have much more context and knowledge of that genre. So we'll see. Yeah, let's just dive into it with track number 1, Alone Again. How do you get such a beautiful voice? I don't understand it. Ooh. This like kind of synth pop production is mad. You've got the trap drums going, I'm fully pulled in now. God. Jesus, this is dark. Bruh. Is bruh a suitable thing to say after a song like that? That was a powerful start to the album, to say the least. It has quite a slow build up towards the hook and then things really start to explode. The production across that was pretty ridiculous, like the synths and everything, and you had those like mad arpeggiated synths that sound like something out of the 80s. And considering the fact that I've heard this song After Hours and this song, you can really start to see the direction that the production is going to go in with this one. It's almost got this kind of 80s synth pop sound to it, but then it's got the modern trap drums, which was good for me. Trap drums is always a dub. It just sounded so well produced. Very good opener, very dark. The Weeknd has a knack for making dark lyrics sound so beautiful, and that makes them just hit all the more harder. Just reading the lyrics is actually like making me feel a bit like sad. Talking about using drugs because you don't feel like yourself, and it's almost like drugs are the only thing that can keep you company. And then there's like that fear of overdosing on the chorus. Who broke this man like this? Like, oh my god. Vocals are flawless, of course. I don't think there's gonna be much criticism at all in this video towards The Weeknd's vocals. He was blessed with that voice. Genuinely think he has one of the greatest voices in music right now. Like, people might say that's overrating him because he is such a popular artist. And whenever an artist gets that popular, a lot of people are going to say they're overrated no matter what, but I genuinely think he deserves that praise for just having one of the most beautiful sounding voices in music. Yeah, this one was crazy. Great opener to the album, and just from the lyrics and themes on this, I can't wait to hear more of it. So let's move into the next one. Track number 2, Too Late. Oh god. Oh my god. love that build up and like that release during the hook. I don't even know what to say. Oh my god. Oh my. Okay. Okay. I think maybe I like that even more than the first song. It felt a bit quicker because it did have a bit more of a higher tempo to it. And it moved forward a bit faster. There wasn't so much build up on this song, which isn't a bad thing. I'm just pointing it out. Again, the production on this was just flawless. So well done. It's really got a bit of an 80s vibe to it, which I guess is perfect for the look the Weeknd has right now. You know, he's got the 80s porn star mustache going. He's embodying the sound of his music right now. And yeah, it's another track of him basically portraying this feeling of being really empty from losing a lover. Feeling a lot of guilt for it, feeling like a lot of it is his fault. He definitely seems very regretful and alone on all these tracks so far. Too Late was another great song. I could definitely see myself listening to that one more than Alone Again. I definitely loved Alone Again, but that's something I would listen to more in the context of the album rather than by itself. This one I could listen to all the time. I feel so out of my depth reacting to something that's not rap, but I'm gonna try and say as much as I can about these songs. So I hope it's going well. But yeah, so far I'm thoroughly enjoying this. So let's move on to the next one. Track number 3, Hardest to Love. Why has it got like a... That's mad. It's got like these synth poppy melodies, but then like a UK like drum and bass instrumental. Not quite sure how it's going to sound throughout the full song. Maybe this is something I'm going to like, maybe not, but it's an interesting blend of sounds. You need a Drake feature on this and he can just spit some bars in his UK accent. I don't know what's happening right now. Okay, I think I'm starting to vibe with this. We're right near the end of the song, but I think I'm feeling it now. It's a unique mix and I need to kind of feel it out a bit more. Yeah, that was an interesting mix, the way it still had that very 80s synthy vibe to it, but with like drum and bass beats thrown over it. When I hear a drum beat like that, I'm expecting a rapper to tell me how they're the godfather of bass, how they've got some dirty stinking bass going. But instead, he's here singing about how he's very difficult to love. It's quite the contrast. Again, it's a track where he's very much blaming himself for everything, and there's big themes of remorse and guilt to it. A lot of it almost reflects this vibe of him not feeling worthy enough for love, like when he says, "I can't believe you want me after all the heartbreaks, after all I've done." He's very distrustful. He doesn't believe anyone is gonna love him at this point. I was a bit conflicted at first with the sound the instrumental had going for it, the kind of blend of genres that it had, but playing it back in my head right now, just kind of remembering how it sounded, that's one that I could see growing on me just every time I listened to it. Playing it back in my head, it's just got me kind of like bouncing right now. Like, it had a lot of energy to it, a really high tempo. There wasn't really any slow build-ups or anything in this one. It just got going and didn't stop until the track finished. We went into that instrumental outro. Of course, again, his voice was beautiful, so like nothing's gonna sound bad with his voice over it. I'm sure the Weeknd could sing over the instrumental for East by Earl Sweatshirt and make it sound like art. This man has not missed yet. 3 tracks in, 0 misses. Moving on to track number 4, we have Scared to Live. And I know I did a performance of this song on SNL, but I haven't checked it out yet, because I just want to hear the actual song itself when I first listened to it. So let's dive into it. I feel like I recognize that melody, but maybe it just sounds similar to something I've heard before. I know things will never be the same. Tell me lost will never be replaced. Build up to that chorus is so nice. Woo. Man, I feel like this whole reaction is just gonna be me just nothing to this man's voice, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. There was definitely something about this track that sounded familiar to me. Maybe it sampled a song that I've heard before, but my favorite part of this song was definitely just the build up to the chorus, and then when it went into the chorus, because like I said, I think it was for Too Late, maybe it had just this really nice build up to it, and then a release when it hit the chorus. It just like, it builds up that tension, and then you just get the sound, and it's like, it just all floods out. It does just sound beautiful. I don't think there's been a single track that I really dislike yet, or a single track that I think is below good. And again, even though he's talking about the other person in the relationship mainly in this song, he's still blaming himself again. It's still got those themes of almost like self-loathing. It's really dark, the themes on this so far. I really like what he's going for lyrically on this project, and all the themes and the content to all of these songs. It's definitely something I'm more focused on than on other Weeknd projects, because I've listened to all his projects so far, like I said, but I've listened to most of them only one time the whole way through. And so I was mainly focusing on the sound of them on my first listen, not really the lyrics. On this project, this is probably the most I've focused on the Weeknd's lyrics. With this one, I feel like the content is just something that's drawing me in so much. I love what he's doing with it. It stands out compared to everything else that he's made. After Hours definitely has its own defined sound within the Weeknd's discography, and I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad at that. I'm really reacting to what might be my album of the year right now, and it's not even a hip-hop album. Track number 5, Snowchild. You got like trap, hip-hop style drums again. I'm into this one.
I used to pray when I was 16. If I didn't make it, then I'd probably make my wrist bleed. I was singing notes while my niggas play with 6 keys. Walking in the snow before I ever made my wrist freeze.
Oh my god, I'm liking this one.
Cover girls jumping out the page like they pop.
There's something about his flow that sounds familiar here. Where have I heard this before? The kind of cadence he has going with his voice on this song is reminding me of something else he's done. I can't pin it down right now, but I'm not really saying that as a criticism. It just sounded very familiar to me. I still think this could be one of my favorite songs. We'll need to see where it goes though.
Was the mission, but now with me she like my futuristic sound in the new spaceship.
Got some of the auto-tune going, okay.
All my diamonds dancing like they Swayze. All my diamonds hitting like they Swaley. For that money I've been feeling. Cali was the mission, but now I need to leave it. Now I need to leave it. Now I need to leave it.
Bro, this has got me feeling chills. Like actual chills. I wouldn't even want to talk. Like that track left me speechless. The sound to that one was phenomenal. Snowchild definitely has been my favorite song in this project so far, which I feel like I'm almost saying with every new song that I hear on this. It just keeps getting better and better. I mean, up to this point in the album, on the first 5 tracks, this is the most like hip-hop influenced one. On this track, he was basically rapping, but just with a much more beautiful falsetto voice than most rappers would use. He's not quite hit the notes of 645 AR yet, but he's close. He's almost that good. The production on this one was definitely a lot more minimal and stripped back. It like held back a little bit, but in a way that made everything just hit much more emotionally. I love reacting to albums that are this good 5 songs into the project. Not even halfway. This album has already given me chills. It's already had me a little bit speechless. There is no other non-rap music that hits for me like this. There's none. I can't wait to just listen to his whole discography again and then listen to this project again and really like compare the lyrics and how his perspective on things has changed throughout his projects. The Weeknd always seems to be kind of evolving the narrative in his music, and I can't wait to go through all his stuff again and kind of really pay attention to that evolution. What are synonyms for beautiful? I need to find other ways to describe these songs. I was just about to say this song is beautiful again, but let's increase the verbiage. None of these really seem as complimentary as beautiful. Like, oh yeah, this song was attractive. Like, no, I'm not gonna say that. Good looking, nice looking. Come on, Google, give me something. This song was stunning. It was heavenly. Don't know why I couldn't just think of those words off the top of my head. It's left me speechless. but like in a way where I also have a lot to say. So let's move into the next song. This is one that I've been very excited for ever since the track list and production credits were announced, because this is the first song with Metro Boomin production on the album. Track number 6, Escape from LA, and this one is almost 6 minutes long, so I'm expecting just a masterfully crafted and well put together song here. We'll see. Sim Powers, boys. I swear, every single time someone talks about LA, they talk about it being a toxic place. Oh yeah, this one is a slow burner, but it's giving me more and more chills as it goes on, man.
She pulled up to the studio. Be a cold-hearted bitch with no shame, but a throat too far. He's so numb until he calls her line.
Whoa.
She pulled up to the studio. We had sex in the studio. Nobody walked in.
The production across this thing, his voice, everything, man. I got chills again. That was a slower one, but that was great, honestly. This song just got better and better as it went on. The bridge on this was absolutely beautiful, and you could just hear Metro's sound all over that with the deep kind of buzzing like bass sound. And with the Weeknd talking about this situation where he smashed in the studio, you know, in LA, but he doesn't necessarily make it sound like a great experience. That didn't feel like 6 minutes as well. The Weeknd is incredible at making songs that are very long not sound that long at all. Like, it's really well paced. And yeah, I'd never want to live in LA. Whenever people talk about it being a good place, they're talking about how nice it looks, how the sun is always out, how they party out there and stuff like that. But whenever people are talking about how bad LA is, they're always talking about the people that are there. Just how kind of dark and toxic and life-sucking the lifestyle is there. This track just further complements that narrative. Except here, instead of talking about people trying to take advantage of him because he's this huge, well-known singer, he's talking about a girl that basically cheats on him and he has a really rocky relationship with her. It's like he's investing all of himself into this girl and she's not giving much of herself back to him. What have people done to this man's heart? Like, he is sounding very just hopeless and heartbroken on this whole project. So let's move into the next one. Like I said, I have heard this one. It's track number 7, Heartless. It's an absolute banger. Metro Boomin on the beat. Metro Boomin turned this hoe into a mosh pit. This is definitely kind of like the most energetic banger style song on this project so far. So I can definitely see why it was a single.
Never need a bitch, I'm what a bitch needs.
I've been running through the pussy, need a dog pound. I don't get why everyone hates that lyric so much. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I really don't think it's that bad. It makes sense. Oh, I've been running through the pussy. He's talking about cats. I need a dog pound because I'm a dog, you know. It's some very simple cat-dog wordplay, but I think it's an overhated line. Oh, and the bridge on this song. Oh, it's so good. I love that song so much. Perfectly placed in the album as well. It's right at the halfway point, brings things up after Escape from LA, which was a slower, longer track. And I think narratively it's perfectly placed into the album as well, you know, after Escape from LA. This whole album so far has just been talking about him being broken from relationships. This song, it's broken him down to the point where he's back to his old ways of just fucking a lot. So let's see where we go from Heartless into the next one, track number 8, Faith. The third song with Metro Boomin production. Okay. Oh God. Oh, this is very tied into Heartless. God, man. Wow. Guess what's happening again, guys? I've got chills. This is so well put together. The way this song links so nicely into Heartless and Blinding Lights. I mean, I haven't heard Blinding Lights, but you can just tell by the lyrics throughout this song. I did not expect this album to be making me feel as emotional as it has. Like, I'm assuming at the end that was him talking about being in an ambulance from the drugs that he's talking about doing on this song. And just hearing him talking about that in this way, it hits so emotionally and so impactfully. I don't know if in the outro if he was talking about an ambulance though or a police car. I'm not too sure which one it was. Like I said, I love a lot of his music, but this is the first Weeknd album to make me feel this emotional. And his song was still like a bop. It still went hard. And incredibly consistent with the themes of Heartless as well, of trying to be a better man, but just being too broken down that you go back to your old addictions. It really is like a special album. Like, it's no surprise that it was 4 years since the last Weeknd album release, because this sounds like something that is definitely justified taking 4 years to make it. Everything from the production to the lyrics to the themes, it's all so well tied together on this album. It all fits together so perfectly, and there's callbacks to previous tracks, there's references to tracks that we haven't even heard on the album yet, like Blinding Lights or After Hours. He's referenced lyrics from those a few times on previous songs. It's something that's so well crafted, and you can tell some real thought and effort was put into making this an album, something that should be listened to all together. I can appreciate that so much. So let's move on to the next one. Track number 9, Blinding Lights. Like I said, this has been released as a single, but I've never listened to the song itself in full. So this will be my first reaction to Blinding Lights.
I'm going through a drought. You don't even have to do too much. Nice. I'm blinded by the lights.
Ooh. That production is insane. I could hear this music being in like Stranger Things or something, and nothing would feel out of place. And I guess this was kind of needed in the album as well, because I'd definitely say this one was less emotional than a lot of the other songs on here. Like, it still had emotional themes to it, but it sounded a lot more upbeat. It's almost like a little bit of hope to keep you going, especially after how dark Faith was. Like, my god. Great song. Not one that I have the most to say about. I think it was a bit more simplistic in a way. Like it was something that was clearly made to be one of like the hits on the album. But that's not a bad thing. It sounded great. And again, I think it's one that's really well placed within the album. And I could see myself listening to that a lot. Really energetic, a really fun one. On to the next one. Track number 10, In Your Eyes. Got some like disco music now. I mean, fundamentally everything on this one sounds good, but this one is definitely standing out as like just not my type of song.
To find love in someone else, anytime.
I can't help but smile during this outro, the instrumental though. Even if I'm not feeling this song as a whole. Okay, it definitely seems like going into the second half of the album, things are going to be a bit more upbeat, a bit more up-tempo. Because Blinding Lights and In Your Eyes, they've had a much happier sound than basically the entire first half of the album. My girlfriend told me that there was 2 songs that she knows for sure I'm not going to like on this album, and I'm assuming In Your Eyes was one of them, because it's not a bad song, but this really isn't my type of thing. This track almost gives me a bit of a Starboy vibe, you know, it's got the same upbeat kind of disco sound to it that tracks like I Feel It Coming have, and I Feel It Coming is just not a song that I enjoy personally. I'm not a huge fan of this more kind of disco / dance style of music. In Your Eyes wasn't bad, but this was definitely my least favourite song in the project so far. So let's move on to the next one, track number 11, Save Your Tears. Like the way that breaks down right there. Try to figure out if I like this one or not though. Because again, it's got a lot of those like kind of dance song elements to it. Yeah, that one's definitely going to need more listens. I'm not too sure if I like that one or not from my first listen. It is another one that has a bit more of those dance/disco vibes to them, like In Your Eyes did. And like I said, after In Your Eyes, that's just a sound that's not for me personally. It doesn't appeal to me. Blinding Lights, I would say, is my favorite one kind of out of this upbeat section of tracks, if you want to call them that. It still did maintain more of that positive sound, but still contained a lot of the lyrical themes of the first half of this album. And I can definitely say right now, I'm feeling what the first half was doing more than the second half. Like, I really like that darker sound. I really feel like it complemented the lyrics very well. These ones, I guess you could call them almost the more radio-friendly tracks. They're a lot less dark, a lot less explicit with their lyrics. I preferred the more overtly dark sound of the first half. Well, let's just keep moving on. On to the next one, track number 12, Repeat After Me, Interlude. Okay, not bad, not bad. These last three haven't been hitting me as hard as the other songs on the album have. This is probably kind of like the weakest segment of the album to me personally. This was okay in terms of how it sounded to me. I get why it was very repetitive on the chorus. It's almost like The Weeknd trying to convince his ex that she's still in love with him and she's not in love with the man that she's with now. But it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like that's more what he wants to believe rather than what is actually the case. It was another one that was more kind of simplistic lyrically. I feel like these last three tracks have been a bit more simplistic lyrically, but it was still very purposeful on this one with the repetition. But the track was definitely one of the slower ones. It just doesn't hit me as hard after the first half, which was so impactful and so dark and so heavy. So we only have one more song left on this album that I haven't heard, and that's the closing song. The next track, track number 13, After Hours, have heard this one. Absolutely love it. It's so well done. The last minute always hits me. Yeah, we're definitely moving a bit more away from that upbeat sound going into the closing part of this album. Something I also saw that I want to point out to some of you guys who might not know. In the intro of this track, the chords are the same as the outro of The Birds Part 2. They're just pitched differently. I didn't find that out myself. I saw it on the Weeknd subreddit. I won't take credit for that, but just thought I'd point it out for anyone that doesn't know. Cool little Easter egg. The mixing on his vocals is so crazy on here too. It's so fitting for the track. That crazy amount of reverb. It does really reflect that being alone vibe. Such a great song, honestly. This bit of the song is so good. That like last minute there of that song is one of my favorite things I've ever heard on any Weeknd song. The notes he hits there, with everything else being so minimal, the instrumental going so minimal at that point, like, oh, it's just a phenomenal song. Like I said, I've already heard it before. That's not my first reaction, so I don't have as much to say about it right now as if this was my first reaction. I kind of wish it was, because I would love to have my first reaction to this song on camera, but I've heard it many times before this video. It's bringing things back to a bit more of a darker place after the previous few songs, and I'm sure that'll transition into a pretty dark final track, Until I Bleed Out. That's a dark name for that song. I'm assuming maybe we'll be bringing it back to the first half vibes for the last song. Is that the end of the... Oh, I was vibing out to that so much I didn't even realize that 3 minutes had passed. Oh my god. Wow. Oh my. It just hit me so hard when I realized how this song loops back around into the first one. Because here on this song, let's talk about this one first. On Until I Bleed Out, he's talking about wanting to cut all the things he's talked about in this album out of his life, whether it's women or drugs. He wants to get rid of them because, you know, he realizes how destructive it is to him and he just wants to move past that. But just like on Repeat After Me, where he was trying to convince his ex that she's still in love with them, the outro of this song sounds like him trying to convince himself as hard as he can that he doesn't need any of this stuff, that he needs to get away from it, which obviously he does. It would be a lot healthier from him, but that's easier said than done. And when you finish the last track, you go back into the first one where he talks about being alone again and doing drugs. So it's almost like this album is just a constant cycle. Oh, and I forgot to mention Metro Boomin production on this track. Yeah, this track was just him being sick of the emotional pain that all of these things are putting him through. God, what a way to close it out. And that did not feel like 3 minutes. Like, I felt like that was a 1 minute long song. It passed by so quickly. And that's a good thing, because it just completely absorbed me in it and had me just completely entrenched in what he was saying. Amazing stuff, and just the perfect way to close it out, the perfect outro. And again, it just makes me realize again how much I love how well crafted this album is, with the themes and the kind of narrative going on throughout it, and the fact that it is set up to be this kind of continual cycle if you just listen to the album over again. So let's just get into my overall thoughts on After Hours by The Weeknd. This album was incredible. This exceeded my expectations, honestly. This was even better than I was thinking it was gonna be. I don't even know where to start with my final thoughts. This was so great. This has to be my favorite album that I've listened to this entire year. I've been listening to some great music recently in these reactions, and I love it. First thing I guess I should mention is that I don't even know where I'd rank this in The Weeknd's discography, and I need to give the album more listens to have a more solidified idea, but off of this first listen, it could probably be in the top 3. Like, I genuinely love this so much. Maybe even top 2, maybe even top 1. Like, I don't know yet. I need to hear it more, but this is the first album where I've really been fully focused on and sucked into the lyrics and what he's saying. Like I said, I've listened to all of his other projects, but I've only listened to most of them one time through. In that one time, I didn't focus on the lyrics as much as I focused on the sounds and the production and his vocals, which is something that I still focused on with this project, but I was so engrossed by what he was saying in the lyrics, the themes he had going, the content, and there was just so many heartbreaking moments on this, and there was stuff he was saying that was just making me feel chills. It's such an emotional, heart-wrenching album, and so much of it just has this kind of hopeless vibe to it. Even if it has that upbeat segment, it's still an album that's incredibly dark overall, with these themes of heartbreak and drug abuse and not feeling like you're worth it, and just being completely destroyed by this heartbreak and by this drug abuse. I've listened to this once and I already feel like passionate about this album. I just want to keep talking about this endlessly. I mean, this has to be The Weeknd's most emotional album so far. Maybe I'll change my mind if I re-listen to his other stuff and look out more for the lyrics, but I don't think he has another album that's more emotional than this one. More hard-hitting, more well-written. Like, everything in this ties together so nicely. He references other tracks on the album constantly. He continues the themes. This album almost has an ongoing narrative throughout it, and each track basically builds off of the last one, all the way up until the last track where, like I said, it loops back around and you just have this story going. It almost plays out like a movie, to be honest. The Weeknd's voice was incredible across this whole project, but that's something we already know. He has one of the best voices in music, like I said. The production, so well produced all throughout this. Yeah, there was a couple of instrumentals I didn't like, but that's just more because they leaned into genres that I'm not so fond of, rather than it being production that I think is bad, you know? It's more that it just isn't for me. Before I get into more of my thoughts on the album, let's go through my favorite and least favorite tracks off of this first listen. So we start with favorites as always. I would say my favorites on here were Too Late, Snowchild, Escape from LA, Heartless, Faith, and After Hours. I'd say that those 6 were my favorites on this project. As for least favorites, this is very easy. If you guys watched the whole reaction, then you already know what songs I'm gonna pick for my least favorites. In Your Eyes, Save Your Tears, and Repeat After Me. Yeah, everything about this was just crazy. Can't express enough how much I love this. Some of the hardest hitting parts were when he was talking about ODing like on faith, that line just, it just kicks you in the emotions. All of Snowchild just had this amazing vibe to it that just sent chills right through my body. Escape from LA just describing this really kind of seedy relationship. I just really like how the story evolves throughout this project. It's just this constant cycle of being sucked back into the stuff that you're trying to get away from because you know it's destructive, but you can't stop because it's what gives you that thrill, that high in life. I hope the Weeknd is okay. Like, I genuinely hope that he's alright after making this music. A lot of me hopes that it's exaggerated for the sake of the music, but I don't know. So I hope if this is his true feelings, he feels a lot better now that he can vent about it and put it out there in his music, and so many people are going to support it and love it. And I just hope he's doing good himself as a person as well. This is my album of the year of 2020 so far, no question. I'm just happy that I like something outside of rap. I don't really want to expand my music taste to too many other genres. I've always said that I'd much rather listen to every type of rap music there is out there, rather than listen to every type of music. I basically want to hear every single piece of rap music that I can, rather than branching out into other genres, because rap is the only one that interests me that much. But this album is special to me in the way that it's not a rap album, but it's one that I love so much. The Weeknd did it again with this one. He really did it again. There's really not that many bad elements to this at all. Just a phenomenal album. That's all I can say about it for now. So that's all I've got to say for the video today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of After Hours by The Weeknd, what your favourite songs were, what your least favourite songs were, if there are any. I would really appreciate you subscribing if you enjoyed this reaction, because we just hit 90k today when I'm recording this, 90,000 subscribers. So we're on that final stretch towards 100k, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to hit that milestone. It's always great when I listen to an album I love this much in a reaction. And that's all I've got to say for today, guys. I will see you all in the next one, and this is CDTVthaG, signing out.